Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Top 5 DEI, the premier podcast for and about DEI professionals. I'm your host, Jason Lambert, aka Dr. J, and my goal is to interview every person in the world who manages, practices, teaches, researches, or publishes anything related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm so glad you tuned in, and if you are ready to learn about some insightful DEI practices from experts from all over the world, and about DEI experiences from people just like you, join me and let's dive right in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Top 5 DEI. I'm Dr. J, and I have a very, very special guest with me here today. This guest is Dr. Gregory Stinyard. I call him Dr. G. That's how cool he is. We've known each other for a while. We've worked on some committees together. He and I are both like DEI practitioner brothers from other mothers, if you would say. Dr. Gregory Stinyard brings over 20 years of experience as a diversity, equity, and inclusion leader, coach, and partner to Fortune 500 insurance, retail, fulfillment, distribution, manufacturing, healthcare, and military leaders. He also served in the U.S. Army and retired after holding several senior leadership roles, including the Equal Opportunity Advisor and Human Relations Advisor roles. With experience advancing DEI across all organizational levels, Dr. G has a wide variety of subject matter expertise in compliance, supplier diversity, recruiting, retention, equal employment opportunities, EEO, HR, human resources, and community partnerships. Dr. Stinyard currently serves as the Director of Inclusive Excellence Operations and Programs for American Family Insurance. In this role, he has oversight and responsibility for building and delivering comprehensive DEI programs to help people learn better ways to lead inclusively, work together, and create more inclusive policies and practices to drive greater business results. He partners with stakeholders across the enterprise to introduce DEI programming and educational opportunities to enhance cultural competencies and inclusive behaviors to inform and grow the business. Gregory drives an integrated DEI strategy by helping leaders achieve their goals, providing them with subject matter expertise, thought leadership, and consulting. Dr. Stinyard earned his PhD in organizational leadership, master's degree in human resources, and master's of business administration from the University of Phoenix, and earned his bachelor's degree from Wayland Baptist University. Now get this, he holds not one, and those who are in the DEI practitioner world, you all will know what I'm talking about. He holds not one, but 3 certifications, the Diversity Executive Leadership Academy. So that's the CDP, the CDT, and the CDE, Certified Diversity Professional, Certified Diversity Trainer, and Certified Diversity Executive, and 2 professional coaching certifications from the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. He has a whole bunch of other stuff too, a whole bunch of other designations. We'll be here for a long time with this intro if I keep going. But he also serves as an active board member for, again, many different organizations. And to name a few, Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Denton County and Denton, Texas Chamber. And he's a mentor for Veterati Veteran Mentorship, and also Big Brother for Big Brothers, Big Sisters Lone Star High School Mentorship Program. Dr. Gina's wife live in Denton, Texas, 3 adult daughters, 3 granddaughters, a grandson, and a chocolate lab named Bella. You know, and I like to mention this because this is Top 5 DEI. This is where we have fun with brave conversations. He enjoys CrossFit, biking, kayaking, and I see him on Facebook doing all of that. Kayaking, I don't know, you have to leave that to yourself, Dr. G. But flying his remote control plane and drone and mastering his Texas-style barbecue skills for his family and friends. And I'll be out there, out at your house next week to get some of that. But so please help me welcome Dr. Gregory Stinyard. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for doing it.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, man. Hey, I didn't know you're going to read the whole bio, you know?
Yeah. Hey, I like to get it all in. Hey, you give it to me. I want them to know who they are, you know, because, you know, when I go to events, you know, you try and condense it, but it's always real long, right? But, you know, sometimes people want to know all of it. Know it all. Know who are we listening to? They you know, put some spec on your name. Put some spec on it, you know.
Hey, listen, I tell people all the time, yes, my official name is Dr. Gregory B. Stinyard, but sometimes I just like to let them know that Greg home. Let's have a conversation, Greg home, you know.
Right.
let's break some bread. But thanks for having me, Dr. J. Thank you.
Very, very welcome. Very, very welcome. And oh, and my co-host has arrived. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
Hey, tell them who you are.
I'm Aaron Ireland. I'm a programmer in the community here in Chicago of activities for kids. We try to bring their education to life. I'm also the founder of Lotus, and we do the same thing at Lotus. We just try to find activities to keep the kids engaged in their academic process. If I make those connections and show them the whys behind the concepts that they're learning. And I got my undergrad in Africana Studies from Tennessee State University. So I've always been focused, that those studies took me past Africana studies and more to the human connection of us all, right? And, just in understanding struggles that other groups have gone through, across the globe throughout history. So that's kind of how, Dr. J and I have gotten together in this realm. We also grew up together. I've known Dr. J since before he was ever, before he was a Dr. J. But he was en route the whole time, though, believe that.
Right.
So I'm
Yes.
glad to be a part of this, and it's good to meet you, Brother Stinyard, Dr.
Hey.
Stinyard. Thank you.
hey.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
Aaron, as we call him AI, he's also the project manager for Magic Consulting now. For those who don't know, Magic Consulting is right now the primary sponsor for Top 5 DEI. You can reach Magic Consulting at www.imagineconsultingllc.com. And that's Imagine spelled without the E. IMAGIN consultingllc.com. So, man, let's jump right on in. So, for the format, for those who don't know, Top 5 DEI, our guests, they have an opportunity to answer 5 questions, right? Just 5 questions. So it gives them a time that we can do a deep dive, really find out, get some rich information from them. But then we're going to ask them to list at the end their top 5 preferences. And it's a preference that they've chosen. And Dr. G has chosen, he wants to share his top 5 books and why, but we're going to get to that later. But I just wanted to put that out there to kind of keep the suspense going, because as you listen to him talk, I'm sure many of you are going to want to know, what are his top 5 books, right? So to get started, let's jump into the first question, okay? And this is, I want you to tell us your journey. How did you get into the DEI field? What attracted you to it? And then what made you stick? What do you love about it? How did you get in this field? Tell us your journey,
Yeah.
Dr. G.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, it wasn't a straight line approach. I didn't wake up one day and say I want to be DE&I and then straight line and get into this space. It took some twists and some turns, some ups and some downs, some storms and some valleys, some frustrations. But I guess you could say it probably started way back in my younger years. But to be honest, it's kind of what you said, AI. I mean, look, I grew up with a mom that was a single mom raising 3 boys in the projects of Mississippi. And so if it wasn't for community partnerships coming alongside, God only knows where I would be. So I got to see my mom go through those struggles as a single Black woman. Got to see my mom having to work 2 or 3 jobs just to provide. And it wasn't until I saw what was going on as a young boy. Now, when moms decided, I say moms, all right, because I'm from the South. I say moms. So when moms decided to uproot us from Mississippi and move us to Dallas, all right, move me from an all Black high school in Mississippi to a literally all white high school in Richardson, Texas.
Mm.
Then I got the culture shock and I realized that, hey, I'm different. I mean, I'm way different. But my mom was teaching me something about cultural dexterity at a young age, how to navigate that. So that started building the sense about the differences and started solidifying that. Then I joined Uncle Sam's army, and Uncle Sam decided to play a little squirrel game with me for 20 years, 9 months, 10 days by sending me to different places to help build my expand my cultural dexterity. We're talking Korea, we're talking Hawaii, we're talking France, Germany, Iraq, Kentucky, New York. And so I'm going around all these different people, learning how to navigate, and I'm seeing something that I'm doing it well. I started figuring out how to connect. I started learning more while in the army with the EEO and the HR and all these things. So by the time I retired from the army, I thought I knew what I wanted to do, but I could not get into that space of DE&I. but I can get into the HR space. And that's what I did in one of the reddest states known to man, called Missouri. Now, keep in mind, I'm in Missouri, going up and down in Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas as an area HR, the only one in all these different locations. But I was representing and tying people back together. Fast forward, came to Texas, and I did about 6 years in Missouri. Came to Texas, and my first company at the time, manufacturing company out of San Antonio, hired me on at first to be their HR, but they saw my passion for DE&I. They started asking me my opinions. And that's when the seed started getting planted, and I started really moving towards that. And they also started paying for my certifications. And and then after all that, they created the position for me, Director of DE&I for global food manufacturers.
Wow.
So I was able to do that. And lo and behold, fast forward to now I'm with American Family Insurance that reached out and headhunted me, gave me the blessing. And said, we want to not only bring you on, but we want to give you the full financial backing of American Family to create the environment to sustain the cultural integrity that we're looking for. And so that's how I got in the D&I space. It started in the beginning, but like I said in the beginning, it wasn't a straight shot journey. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of volunteering. There's a lot of getting my name out there and my passion. And then bada boom, bada bam, bada boom, here I am.
It's interesting you say that because a lot of people I talk to in this space, it's not a straight line. And some people, it wasn't even on their radar. And sometimes some of these companies, unfortunately, they got picked for this role because, oh, you're the only executive that's an executive of color. You're the only executive in our company C-suite that's a woman. And that's the reason why they picked them. And then they come to me, I don't know what to do. Can I pick your brain? But even though all of us, because of the experiences that they've had, that's always a part. I think if you're a woman or racial minority or a sexual minority, you know, you have these discriminatory experiences. So we're always thinking about difference and can't people just get along and why did this happen? And so part of it has come natural. But at the same time, as you know, there's a lot of training. You have like three certifications and all types of letters behind your name. But I think a lot of organizational leaders don't realize that, don't recognize that,
Yeah. It's, and matter of fact, I just left, I told you earlier, I was in San Francisco talking with a group of new D&I practitioners. And, but they were talking about how do you get in this space? And I told them the V word, volunteer. Open your mouth and say, I agree to do that for you. It could be helping out with a BRG, business resource group, or an ERG. It could be coming alongside of communications to make sure the messaging they're about to send out concerning whatever event has a D&I language that can only be brought by historically underrepresented group member, And then once you start getting your name out there, then people are going to call you the go-to expert. And then once they start seeing that, they're going to produce the fruits we need, then they're going to start the compensation to catch you up. It takes time. But a lot of D&I practitioners say, man, I want to get into it right now. I want to run with it right now. But it takes those scratches on your knees. It takes those mistakes with the mentor beside you saying, all right, you just went in there and told this person that they are not allowed to feel that way. And we as D&I practitioners can't tell someone how to feel.
Right.
You don't feel the way that you want to feel. And my job is just to make you aware that there's some differences out there. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's a soundbite right there. Yeah, we're still in that one. Copyright Imagine, So hey, question one was awesome. Question two, AI.
Dr. Stinyard, you talk about those scratches on your knees, right? What are some of those scratches? What have been some of the challenges in this space? And also, on the opposite of that, let's talk about some of the rewarding times, some of the rewarding experiences that you've had in this space. Any surprises or anything like that, expectations that have been shattered or just paradigm shifts and things like that?
Yeah, I would say a couple. Number one, I have to remember that everybody has a passion for being in this space. As I said before, nobody comes into this world crying saying, I want to be DE&I. It's something that drew you to it. Me as a Black male, seeing my mom go through what she went through and all of the but the trauma that she was going through brought me into this space. Me being a father of 3 daughters and a wife that served in the military alongside me. So I got to see firsthand through her eyes how I felt to be the only woman sitting in Iraq, 1 out of every 20 men. So I got to see that. So that brought me into this space. But some of the things that I've learned along the way is whatever I do and whoever I bring on my team, what brought us into this space is in our box, meaning this box that we carry. And when people come to us with their issues, with their opportunities, it could be just a couple of weeks ago, so somebody did the forbidden, which was to reach out and touch someone's hair because it was braided. Oh, I've never seen that before, and reached out to touch. Now,
Uh-oh.
that turned from a sexual harassment to sexual assault because you put your hands on them. You
Touch.
don't
Right. Exactly.
so, but that's also a cultural issue. And when they came to me with that story, I looked inside their box and I had flashbacks of my mom. And so I have to not look in the box and take on that emotion. And that goes for everyone on my team. I mean, I have women on my team. I have a representation of the LGBTQIA community on my team. I have a biracial person on my team. It's a very diverse D&I team. And I tell them all the same thing. Whatever you do, don't look into that box. And if it's a trigger for you, pass it on to somebody else. Because we in this space can accidentally go down that road and be that person that wants to champion the cause. And as D&I practitioners, we are here to influence the championing of the call, not be the champion, but the focal person. So
Right.
that was some of my scratches. I got passionate about something and I got out the box and I kind of took a little sip of the ignorant oil years ago and I shouldn't have done it. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have went off, so now I know the triggers. Now, some of the rewarding aspects of my job is simply when I can reach just that one says, man, what you just said or what you did showed me exactly what I needed. And now I'm your ally. I'm here to go out there and share the good word. And,
Yeah.
and sometimes I have to go through 99 of them to get to that one. But I believe it's not my job to sow the seeds in the fertile grounds and then watch it grow. I just throw the seeds out there. Make sure I get the rocks out, throw the seeds. Eventually, I'm going to get that one.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? When you see that, they have that aha moment, right?
Yeah.
And they have that change, or they come in and they tell you, like, hey, the words that you just said that resonated. And because sometimes that's what it is. Because kind of like what you and I were talking about before the call, all of us have our own bias, right? We all have our bias, and we're not the same people we were not even 5, not even 10, not even 20 years ago. And when we self-reflect like that, it's easier for us to have tolerance for other people maybe don't get it and meet them where they are. And then when they do, it's like, yes, because we've had our epiphanies, our aha moments. So I'm still having aha moments. I was part of an organization where we totally forgot that we were doing all these events. It's supposed to be for minority professionals, and realized that all the events were catered towards Black people. We look back at the past events. There was nothing for Native Americans, American Indians that were part of our organization, nothing for Hispanics who were part of our organization. And so we had our own blind spots, and that was an aha moment for me. And I'm someone who's on the recipient of discrimination all the time. Yeah.
And as we drive this DEI&B, there's so many of them that I have to keep up with the changes, but our initiatives and our drives over the years, and I'm probably going to get yelled at for saying this, but regretfully, now that the conversation is coming up from the white males saying, what about me? I don't see myself in this initiative. And after the first couple of times I heard, I was like, it's been about you for centuries. But then I started hearing more of that. And I started looking back and realizing that all our panels had people of the historically underrepresented groups to give them a voice. All the guest speakers coming in were representations of the historically underrepresented groups. Our BRGs were ran by members of the historically underrepresented groups. So of course, the white male started feeling like, hold up, man, I'm an ally. Hey, can I not get up and speak? So now I got to slow this bus down and say, everyone has a seat on this beautiful bus of life. And we're going to rotate that front right seat. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's going to get a sense, but that was a lesson learned. is that we're all passionate about this space, but as practitioners, we have to ensure that everyone has a voice, you know,
Right.
everyone.
I see that, the anger initially, you know, as I've grown in this space also, creating space for allyship, right? A lot of times, you have to see that they might be coming from a space, that they're speaking from an experience rather than from who they want to be. And
Right.
so, yeah, the allyship piece is what I see being the struggle for people in this space. It was certainly one for me younger, before I furthered my studies. But I'm talking about 1920. You know what I mean? Like when we were just coming into the knowledge of the systemic philosophies that have marginalized our communities and or groups of people. So that's very interesting. That's important to say. What was the other thing that you said? I
Yeah.
forget.
No, because I think people forget that, and that's the real thing because we really want to be truly inclusive.
Mhm.
That means that it's that balance of that fine line of making sure that we don't begin to act as our oppressors acted, right? This idea of, Abraham X. Kennedy's book, How to Be Anti-Racist, love his book. He breaks down like every single, like he goes to different identity groups and he does it through the lens of him growing up in hip hop culture and things like that. He talks about we're all conditioned to be racist. We're all conditioned. We all see the same images and everything. And so
Yeah.
what can happen is we could be in a situation because we know that soon that whites are going to be the numerical minority, white people are.
Mhm.
But would it be messed up if when that happens, now we just keep on being racist now? So now they're minority. Now we decide to be racist against them, right? What's that? The hate that hate made, because we don't want to, we need to end that cycle because otherwise if everyone's conditioned to be racist, then doesn't matter who's in power. Whoever's in power, they're going to have this racist ideology. And
Yeah.
that's it. And we got to be careful that we don't go in that direction either. But it's difficult. It's very challenging. It is very
It's a fine dance. It's
Right.
especially as a practitioner in this space, it's a fine dance because people that we look like are looking at us to see what we're going to do. And
Mhm.
people who don't
Right.
look at us are watching us to see what we're going to do.
Wow.
And it can
Right.
get lonely. It's a fine dance.
Yeah.
That's
Because
interesting.
you must be the voice for all.
For all.
For
Yes.
all. And, some of them alls make you want to just be like,
Exactly. That's
"Really,
what
man, I
that's
don't
what
want
makes
to
it
deal with you
challenging.
today. I don't want to deal with
Right.
you today because you
That's
just
yeah.
said a triggering word for me."
That's right.
But if they say those triggering words to me, that means they feel comfortable showing me their true transparent self and they want me to help them, but they may not know it. When a person does not code switch, because I believe code switching happens all over. Now, it mostly happens
Yeah.
in the black and brown or the historically underrepresented groups. But even white people are starting to code switch now, not showing their
Right.
true authentic selves.
That's true.
And
That's a
I
good
try to
point.
set the stage where people, with my personality, I mean, look, I'm a 6'3" black male. So I have to automatically realize within 2 minutes, I need to defuse the room. I'm not aggressive. I smile. I crack a joke here and there. I make you feel comfortable. So that's why I'm not Dr. Gregory Stinyard. I'm Greg home. Let's talk. And people start feeling comfortable saying these little things. And it's like, did you know that that could be perceived as fill in the blank? No, Greg, I never knew. Well, that's what I'm here for. I ain't mad at you. Just don't say that one again. Because another it might not let you walk away with that one.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Because second
Second time.
fool always say fool me once.
You know?
Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me
Yeah.
twice, you get smacked. No, no, we don't promote violence.
Oh,
on
no.
top five.
Hey,
No,
come
no,
on,
no.
dog.
That was
Hey,
the joke. That was the joke.
Right.
Right. But we got to get through these 5 questions.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Question number 3. And this kind of relates to this because we see a lot of DEI practitioners who don't understand, for example, what we just spoke about how being inclusive means everyone, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we know that some have been overrepresented for many
Right.
years and still are overrepresented now. But still, it's like an art. It's a dance we have to play. It's to do in order to make sure everyone's included. But so in that spirit, what is a poor practice you've witnessed or learned, or that you've witnessed or learned that DEI professionals should avoid?
Yeah. Our field of DE&I, like I said earlier, is evolving. First, it was diversity. Then it was diversity and inclusion. Then it was diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now it's DEIB. And then
Don't forget Justice Jedi.
we are so educated in this space, getting all this data and this information as we're evolving, and we're hitting it to our customers, and we're giving it to them. Now it's psychological safety, unconscious bias, gender neutrality. I might be saying that wrong. All these big words.
Yeah.
Now my theme is, let's keep it to the basic elements for a second.
Mm.
Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and ensure that we have that foundation, and everybody's traveling, they have a foundational understanding, the firm foundation, and then we can start building walls. Right now, one of the practices I see that DNI practitioners should avoid is, just because it's a fancy long syllable word doesn't mean that your audience is going to understand it. If
Right.
they don't understand the basic elements, it's going to frustrate you that they don't understand this one.
And it doesn't mean you have to use it, because it looks all nice and shiny and peeling and makes you look smart, right?
Yeah. So it's something I tell my team. I have a great team that surrounds me. When they come up with a new word or a new seminar they want to go to, or something that they learn, I'll ask them, where does this fall within the foundation? The four foundational principles, D, E, I, and B. And they
Yeah.
scratch their head. They were like, I see what you're saying, boss. Now lace it in there, but don't make it the focal point, because they're going to be looking at that flashy word instead of what you're trying to teach them, you know, which is my job. Our job as DNA practitioners is to change the hearts, to change the minds.
Right.
Change the heart, then you can change the mind.
Man, you give me some gems, man. I'm writing that one
But
down too,
then
Dr. G.
you just cite me, Dr. 42. Go ahead, man.
So he's adopting a top practice. Tell me some. Have you adopted any top practices? That like that. What are some top practices that you've seen? We talked about some poor ones.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite DEI practices?
Yeah. DNI now is starting, I believe, to evolve into coaching, making that space to coach. And so I try to remind a lot of upcoming practitioners to start to shore up your coaching skills, which is your listening skills, your ability to paraphrase back. It pulls that person in, because once they read what you give them, the beautiful presentation or maybe a one-page takeaway on the topic, they're going to want to, some are going to want to come talk to you and share their story. It could be a story of an aha moment, or it could be a story of something that happened to them in the past that made them begin to think like this. Now we have to flip to our coaching hat,
That's so true.
and take
Yeah.
them through the journey to identify the energy that surrounds what's making them feel this way. For example, I had a young individual. I say young, I'm 51. I'm sure she was about as old, but anyway, and she was really struggling on the Black History Month. And she called me afterwards, and she says, Greg, I'm struggling. Okay, so what you struggling about, Jane? Talk to me. So we just call her Jane. She says, well, I'm struggling with Black History Month because I'm scared of blacks. Okay. Well, why are you scared of blacks, Jane? Well, I'm scared of blacks because when I was younger, I was carjacked by gunpoint by 3 black males. Okay. It's understandable. It's why you will feel that way. So when we flipped the script and started coaching to where she was willing to now take some steps to forgive.
And she felt safe to talk to you too.
She
That's
felt safe.
man, that's awesome.
So that's something that I'm seeing emerging right now, is the whole coaching aspect. And I'm not saying that people need to run out and get coaching certifications, all that stuff. It could be a good book, but the listening skills, because as practitioners, we're teachers, which is a talking skill. We have to be able to flip it to be a listening skill towards the end.
Listening is a skill and a half. I did a practice with my wife, and it was called reflexive listening.
Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And man, it took me 5 times to repeat back what my wife said to me.
Okay, I can believe that, because I've known you since ever. So-
The mediator said, repeat what she said. And I said, oh, she's trying to say blah, blah, blah. And they both were
trying to
like,
say.
no. I was
Right.
like, hey. So I said, okay, let me get it right. And it took, so that's a really good skill. And it allows you to empathize, to really,
Yeah.
to really like make a connection. Like, oh, I'm here to assist. I'm here to make this world a better place, to sharpen, to polish your human lens,
Mhm.
right? And your caring lens. So let me really understand that there's so many similarities. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
That's right.
When you talk about the white man who wanted space, right?
mhm,
This stuff affects us all.
it does.
Right.
It
It does.
Right.
affects us all. And
And
so to
and that's
think,
what oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
No,
You,
no, go ahead.
now you said a key thing though, empathy. Like
Yeah,
what's Mary Frances Winter? She has a book out. It's a book. Was it Difficult Conversations or something like that? Mary
Okay.
Frances Winters. I think that's her
Mhm.
name. And she talks about models for empathy. And there's a quote that she has says that, "How can I understand you if I don't know you?"
mm,
And a lot of people aren't taking the time out to really know one another, especially if they look different from ourselves. So then, of course, we can't understand because,
Yeah.
like going back to what you said, you was like, what she trying to say is when we listen, sometimes we already have made up in our mind what the person is trying to tell us. We make
Yeah.
these mental shortcuts, and that's the way we're hardwired. Sometimes we have to be conscious about our metacognition, about what we think
yeah,
about, because when we were hunters and gatherers, we didn't have time to think. We had to often live off of assumptions, you know,
We're back
because is that a lion?
gather.
Is that a lion? Is that a lion? Oh, it's a lion. Then
I
it's
don't have
already
time to
got
think, is that a line? Right?
already got me, right?
Yeah,
You
you
see the
trying to
bushes
freak
when you like, you know what? That's a lion. We're not going to wait to find out. And so, but that we make mental shortcuts all the time. So it's,
Yeah,
our mind's always trying to figure out what they're trying to say instead of being present,
yeah,
feel a bit, and listen to what
yeah.
they are saying, you know. So,
You gotta preach right there. Gotta
Coaching.
preach. Gotta preach.
so, Dr. G, where do you see this future of DEI as an industry?
Evolving. I think I shared with you earlier. In the beginning, it was a tragic event, the murder of George Floyd, that really made organizations step in and realize that we have an opportunity. Also, it was the changing of the environment with the the generational differences coming up. And the younger generation is looking for the social responsibility, the governance responsibility, your DE&I, initiatives. So organizations were capitalizing on that, and they were putting a lot of money behind it. And everybody called themselves a D&I practitioner. Well, now I see the evolving of the D&I field where organizations are looking for that, not only certification, it could be that, but also what have you done in the past? It's getting very hard for someone coming straight out into the DE&I space to land that director role of DE&I. So I'm seeing the changing where people are going to have to give themselves a goal, but understand that you got to get some skin in the game, because these
Yeah.
organizations are looking to streamline down. Instead of 50 DNI practitioners, it could be 10. And they are going to be true practitioners that can navigate all spaces of DNI, from DNI strategy development to strategy execution to coaching to developing training to sitting with the executives in the C-suite. So that's some of the trends I'm seeing. And it's fascinating because with less of us out there, that's more compensation for the ones that are there, the ones who truly want to be there.
Interesting point. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Interesting point.
No, but that makes sense. Organizations are becoming more educated about this space.
Yeah,
And, because George Floyd murder, that incident, it's like they were all just like running around with their heads cut off, we need to find something. Then they realized that they didn't do their due diligence. And
yeah,
some companies, it may put them in a worse situation because they weren't hiring the right people. They just wanted to kind of just performative allyship to say, hey, we got somebody, they're going to do something, but they're hiring people and they weren't really.
yeah.
I know that first year, I was seeing a lot of CEI folks come out of the woodwork
Man,
everywhere. And a lot of them didn't know what they were doing. I know folks who never did DEI who were just regular, just, maybe change consultants or
right,
HR. Now they're
right.
doing this. And I think it was a disservice to a lot of companies. But the future of DEI, they're evolving, being educated. And that makes a lot of sense. Less people, but smarter, working smarter, people who actually know what they're doing.
Know what they're doing. And
Yeah.
can and not be the doers, but be the coachers or but the consultants or advisors. being in this space doesn't mean that we do every day. Now, for me, I partner with talent development to talk about ensuring that the performance review process has a DEI lens. I partner with HR to ensure there are upcoming policies. I don't do it. I partner with the training area to ensure that the lens of DEI are in our trainings is being offered. And as practitioners, we remember that we don't have to carry that cross, but we got to make sure that our lens is embedded throughout all aspects of the organization. And that's a hard shift. And a lot of people in DI like to get it done themselves. And when you try to get it done yourself, it's going to burn you out. It's going to burn you out bad. That's why a lot of CDOs, or chief diversity officers, are only lasting 2 years in their organization because they get burned out. I ain't getting burned out. Not Gregory Bertrand.
So, man, we come to that final moment. Who wants to ask the question? Hey, I'll let you ask the question. Top 5.
Yeah, what's up with you?
Let me see. Let me go to these questions. But to the last, I'm sorry, I know we want to go, but the last point, I remember reading that some of these sessions were causing more of a rift in the community, in the companies.
Yeah.
Right. I've been a part of ones where they put us into different groups with our own group. And then when we came back, we never debriefed. So they left us.
Right.
They left us with the history of the system, of the philosophies that these systems are rooted in, right? And then we're just upset, like you just watched Mississippi burning, and nobody is giving you know what I mean?
No context. So where do we go from here, or another, or why did this happen? Repeat it, or
And
like
now I'm looking at my ED, like
right. I had this, and then for the sake of time, but I was in it. They actually broke us, had us break out into different groups, and they were asking questions about our childhood. And one woman was sharing about how she said that she knows that every summer that she lived in a rural community, and every summer she knows that Mexicans would visit her town and get off the trucks and do work and leave. And she remembers people in this town didn't treat them very well and stuff like that. And I was with my DEI hat on, I'm in the group, and I'm thinking she should not have had to share that. This could have been an anonymous. We could have did a jam board, anything. We could still share the information. So we see how people have these different experiences growing up.
Right.
We don't have to tie them to one person, because now, guess what? People are going to be looking at her differently. Like, oh yeah, Jane, I always knew, and then that creates that rift. I had in another group, this one woman asked about her childhood. She said she told them that she grew up in a big house and all this other stuff, because she grew up in the projects. She didn't want anybody knowing she grew up in the projects.
No.
So sometimes, these practitioners, they don't understand how sensitive a lot of these topics are, but there's ways, just methods to get this information out for the context and make the point, but without tying it back to other people, because that's what they can create the rifts. Because now we're leaving these sessions like, I remember what you said. I remember what you said.
Yeah.
Because
remember, I said it before that. Sometimes people say stuff and it causes us to take a look in our box, and it's a trigger. So making that a safe place for people to be able to share if they want to, but understanding that setting those boundaries in the beginning, that this is going to be a difficult conversation, a hard conversation.
Yeah.
And you may hear some things that can be a trigger for you, but we're going to debrief at the end.
Right.
And oh, by the way, in the back corner, I got employee relations sitting there who can talk to you because they're certified counselors if you need.
Okay.
So,
I wanted to ask about that. That's important, though, right?
That's
important to have that too, because sometimes that's necessary.
Yeah, because I can be a coach, but I'm
beyond my expertise.
Yeah,
that's right.
Counselor, All right,
Dr. G,
start with you.
Top 5 books. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you, Dr. G, for being on again. I want to thank you very much, and Dr. J for this platform. This has been an awesome conversation. I want to know, Dr. G, what are you bumping in the car? What are you playing?
No, he asked for the top 5 books question. That's what he like. Top 5 books.
You don't want to know what I'm playing in the car.
We're doing the book. I want to know, was it a podcast? What podcast you look? But okay, so we're just doing. We're just doing the books.
Yep, we're doing one top 5, and that's going to be the books.
Let's go.
Top 5 books.
What are the top 5 books, Dr. G? My fault.
Hey, I call you afterwards and tell you what I'm playing in the car.
I want to know what's
Put that on the
what's
radio.
on heavy
We're not gonna put
rotation.
that on the podcast, you
I
know.
want to know what's on
Uh,
rotation. Go ahead,
yeah.
though. Go ahead.
It's my top 5 books because I take a look. All right, I have a bookshelf back here, but behind me is my go-to books. But my top 5 is number 1 is called The Energy Leadership Book by Bruce Snyder, and basically it's a book that talks about transforming your workplace, but also your life by looking at the core of what's triggering you. And so sometimes I'll pull this book off, and I read it like over a half a dozen times, but I'll pull it off and read it again because I realize everyone that's coming to us about something in this space has a trigger, and we got to identify the trigger through coaching and possibly a mentorship if needed. And so this book reminds me. Another book I enjoy reading is called "Don't Drop the Mic" by T.D. Jakes. And the reason I like that book is because as D&I practitioners, we get in front of crowds all the time to speak. And sometimes I can get it. I've been doing this for a while. Every once in a while, I get a little on the nervous side. You know what I'm saying? Because I know it's going to be a tough audience. But this book has helped me to understand more about the public speaking, about how not to, what to wear, what not to wear. You know, because sometimes I notice some people would get up there and have something on, and people are more focused on what they're wearing than what they're talking about. So I love "Don't Drop the Mic." Another book I enjoy reading is called "Wild at Heart." And the reason I like Wild at Heart by John Eldridge is it talks about discovering the secret of a man's soul. I'm always doing self-reflection on myself. The reason I say that self-reflection is because I come in contact with people that feel a certain way. And when they talk to me, that feeling, as I take it away from them to replace it with something new, that feeling got to go somewhere. And I got to always check my heart. You know, it could mean a lot of CrossFit. It could mean going out flying my drone, getting away from the noise, the nonsense, the news. So I really like Wild at Heart. Another one is Walking with God. I'm a man of faith. Now, don't get me wrong. I will say something to you if you make me mad enough, but I am a man of faith, you know. And it's another one by John Eldridge. I really want to make sure that I always hear my guiding principles, my God's voice in what I do. And I think my wife just told me last week I went to a conference to speak, and it was the worst trip in the world. Now, the conference is great, but everything went wrong. I didn't schedule my hotel room correctly. I had to get another hotel room. Credit card got hacked. I had to get another credit card. Everything went wrong. And I called my wife because my boo is my foundation sometimes. I called and said, "Baby, I'm having a rough day. Everything went wrong." And my wife told me, "Hmm, hey, but did you pray about this before you said yes?" No, I just said yes. She says, "Well, I think you're going to have to navigate this one." As she hung up on me. And then my last book is of course is the Bible. I do read it every day. I do like I said before, I do a lot of quiet time, self-reflection, because I know that the moment I turn my camera on or I go into a meeting, I'm going to be on from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 in the afternoon with multiple voices hitting me. So I always start my day off in the morning, 6 to 6:30. I'm an old soldier. I'm structured. Cup of coffee and a good book, and I end it at night at 8:30 when I write in my journal about anything that's heavy on my heart from the day, so I can let it go. And those are my top 5 books. Now I got a whole bookshelf down here if you're ever curious. Those are top 5.
That's a great top 5. I like that top 5. Thank you
Strong
so much
fun.
for sharing that. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. We
Yeah.
need to
Very
share that.
strong
We need to
5.
share those offers and
Uh-huh.
titles.
That's a great idea. Like
Yeah.
this is Dr. G's top 5. Is that is
Ab-
with your permission, sir?
Yeah, man, I don't
Yeah.
mind. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
I
we
was
can
asking about the
share
check.
those like on the website or so. Oh, you're talking about right now. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
ain't
yeah.
all that in a bucket of chips. You know, I'm just
Saying
Let's
both.
look on the
Yeah.
website.
on the website. There
So
you
we're gonna
There they
open
go.
it up.
There they
We're
are.
gonna we're gonna open the floor to the audience members. So, like we said before, if you could just everybody, let me go ahead and make sure all the cameras are on. We're gonna open it up to the audience members. And so, any of you, if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand, and I will call on you and by name, and you can begin to speak. Anyone. I know we have some questions for Dr. B out there.
Oh no, man. I might
Feel like
not
I'm
do
on
it
those
so good.
shows.
I might
Our
not do
first
it so
caller
good.
Oh, we have a comment, more of a comment from Jessica B. Jessica says, speaking to organizations, looking more to examples, it's more of the more walk the walk instead of talk the talk. Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's about walking the walk,
Yeah.
because anybody can talk, anybody can say anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all in our actions and
That's
not just
good.
our words.
Now,
Any other
Dr. G
questions for the
he was
audience?
just super informative. There are no questions. He
Yeah.
gave all the information.
Crystal over there in the top left corner.
Crystal, oh, Crystal, thank you. I'm getting old. I'm
And,
blind.
and
Crystal,
Jessica also.
please ask your question, Crystal.
Hi, everyone. Definitely thank you for conducting this podcast. It really was insightful for sure. Dr. Gregory, I did have a quick question for you. When you were kind of on the road to BEI, did you kind of network or did you join any groups that kind of focused on this to help you on your journey?
Yeah, good call out, Crystal. Yes, there's a lot of free community networks, free DNI, community networks that I was a member. I volunteered for and would attend as many free events as I could to continue to sharpen my skills and plus get my names out there, my name out there. And so chambers, depending on if you chamber costs money, so it's not necessarily free, but a lot of discounts for students or just individuals who are just branching out into this space, but a lot of volunteering as well. I forgot what the website is, but there's a website where organizations are looking for volunteers to help them in certain areas. Could be HR, could be DE&I, could be anything. It's just little small things. And so just the more practice, but also they put comments on my LinkedIn that I came in and helped them, that I came in and did this, and that built my repertoire. So when people started searching, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, he's been involved in this, this, and this. So yeah.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you for that question. We have a question from Jessica Somerville. Jessica.
Jessica
Good
Somerville.
Hi. So I want to ask you, what was the hardest coaching session you ever had to have?
Mm.
Let's see. Sure.
I think the hardest coaching session that I ever had to have and still continue to have is with people, black and brown people, black people, my people, because I try to teach them. I think I just shared this with Jason earlier, that we all come to the table with some kind of feeling and emotion. And so I want to unpack that feeling and emotion to find out the root. Sometimes I can find the root. It could be somebody that treated them wrong in high school, and that's why they carried this behavior or this thought about a different race and ethnicity all their life. Sometimes it's something that they heard their parents talk about, and no one's done anything to them personally. So just unpacking that, but it's very difficult because I am black. And so, but I'm asking you as a black male or female to look at things through a different lens, so we all can begin to move on this journey. Now, don't get me wrong. Then you got the news igniting it again. George Floyd, the young man that was running, all these different deaths at the hands of police officers. So telling people, turn the damn news off, just turn it off, leave social media alone because it's affecting your mood and it's affecting how you show up. So yeah,
Yeah.
I might've said too much. Sorry.
No, that's so true. Cause I saw this meme the other day and it had a picture of this guy. It was Walter Cronkite. He said, remember when this guy would come on TV every night and tell you what happened, tell you how it happened, and then he'd say good night, right? Because social media and media now is so opinionated and it's
Yeah.
all about ratings now. And so by design, they want to stir up our emotions.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like to read my news more often now or
Right.
listen to like maybe NPR radio, but even NPR is not
Mhm.
is biased sometimes, and has this emotional element to it. But yeah, because otherwise, I would have been burnt out years ago
Yeah.
because of the emotion that comes with it. I just
Right.
want to read facts and then go about my day. And I think it's best to turn it off like that. Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of D&I knowledge on LinkedIn. People are always posting on LinkedIn.
Yes. Yeah.
And I finally, and sometimes people send me things like, did you see this? Did you see that? Well, my way of reading anything is I look at who wrote it. I look at when they wrote it. And if it don't align, then I look at what citations or what references that they put in there where they're getting their information. And I tell people all the time, is this a study or is it a blog? Because if it's
Right.
a blog, it's giving you the perception of the author. And I want to know who this person is before I let it in to shift my mind. Could be more research. And sometimes it does. My wife gets upset. I'll sit back in this office and read so many articles and triangulate who this person is. And if I can't validate that they're a reliable source, then I put it in the don't let it in my mind because they're trying to influence me for whatever cause.
Exactly.
That's just my 2 cents, you know?
No, you're right. Yeah. So what about causes instead of just like, what are the objective facts, information I need to know?
Yeah.
We got a question from Priyank. Priyank, what's your
Yeah.
question?
Firstly, thank you so much for having this conversation. It's so important. I was kind of curious if you had recommendations or suggestions for best practices in applying DEI in like a transnational context. So for companies that have global offices where, for instance, employees may not fully understand race as like this really embodied construct, what are some strategies and approaches that might be fruitful?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I say to that is don't do what I did. All right. So what I did was in one of my previous organizations, it was a global D&I role. And I made the mistake of assuming that all these other countries are at the same belief pattern of American DE&I. And so I realized very quickly through some really constructive feedback that Canada views it different, Europe views it different, India views it different. Everybody's different. So I think my recommendation would be to understand or find that person or persons within that culture that can help explain what's going on and give us visibility to find those common threads that we can connect with and not assume that our American way of DE&I is the same once you cross with the continents. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand. Yeah. And one of the things is about the international context is now, if you're not from that, if you're not from that home country, if you're the foreigner, for example, if I'm an expat and I'm in a different country, that's a whole nother learning lesson. I have to understand as a DI practitioner just to understand the dynamics of communication. Yeah, I know when I did a study abroad trip with my students to China some years back. And what was so funny is I can imagine if you were like doing DEI because you have to know about all these other cultural norms that you know nothing about unless you studied
Nothing.
beforehand. And so we all studied it. We had some classes on it. One of my colleagues is from China. He went with us. But what was so interesting, we get to this financial services firm and I go inside the boardroom, the conference room, and I'm talking to what I learned later was like maybe the admin assistant. So I go to the gentleman. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm, Jason Lambert. We're here from, the United States." And he just acted like he didn't want to talk to me. And I was like, "Is he being rude or what's going on?" Right. So then all the students come in. He's not. All the students are also trying to speak to him, but he's just kind of just, keeping his distance. Then the CEO comes in, and then I introduced myself to CEO. CEO talks to the students and everything. So then I asked the CEO, I said, "Hey, I was talking to your assistant. What's going on?" And then he and my colleague explained to me that, the power distance is so much greater there, which I knew that already, but it was intriguing to see that up front, to see how this assistant felt like he did not have the right or the authority to
Right.
talk to me before the CEO walked into the room or before we spoke to the CEO first, because there's that power distance in that culture of when you're in these positions of influence that you're raised on this high
Yeah.
hierarchy, right? And so it's a whole nother dimension of culture you have to think of just from geographical location, power distance, time orientation, showing up. Some cultures showing up late. That's what you're supposed to do. If you
Yeah.
show up early, it's like, why are you here? I mean, you're here in the United States, everything got to be on time. Here in the United States, a lot of managers have an open door policy, or you see your manager, you talk to your manager.
Right.
So yeah, that's a very interesting, good question. Yeah.
And then also I dropped the link in there. So I have a few go-to websites, but depending on the conversation. And when the question came out about global, it took me to the Center for Global Inclusion,
Mhm.
nonprofit 501(c)(3), I believe that totally focused benchmark and studies on from a global perspective. So it's free. I like free. All right. Got a wife, 3 grown daughters, 3 granddaughters, and a grandson. I like free, you know?
I heard that. There's also this website. I don't know. You're probably familiar with like Hofstede Cultural Dimensions, and I guess I will drop this into the chat as well. And what I like about the website that they have for Hofstede. So Hofstede, he surveyed IBM employees from like all the different. 'Cause IBM was like international, one of the first companies that was international. So he surveyed employees all over the world, and he was
Mhm.
able to identify differences in their culture based on the geographical locations, such
Yeah.
as. And so, but what I like about this website is that you can go in and you can actually type in a country or multiple countries and compare
Mm.
them, compare their different cultural dynamics. So like one company might be high on power distance, another one is not. One might be more quote unquote masculine versus feminine, you
Mhm.
know, as far as their gender roles. Like if you go to some countries like I might be wrong, but I think if I recall, like some of the countries like Sweden and Holland and Norway, Netherlands, they have more their gender norms, gender social roles are
Right.
there's more equity in that.
Mhm.
It's not like there's this idea that only women should take care of the children and men should just work and things like that. So, but I think I'm going. But yeah, so that website might be very helpful if you go to Hofstede spelled HOFSTEDE -insights.com. You
Right.
can find that information. But looks like we're approaching the hour. And so again, Dr. G, Dr. Stinyard, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And for everyone else, please tune in October 17th when we're going to have another special guest, Nicoria Johnson, who is the Chief Diversity Officer for Credera, which is a technology consulting firm. And I'm interested to know what top 5 preference she chooses and I already know the questions she wants to ask, but you'll find out if you tune in next month. Again, Dr. G, thank you so much. AI, the culture guy, the co-host, the most. Thank you much. All right, everybody have a good day. Peace out from Dr.
Y'all.
J.
Peace.